Okay, I will call the March 18th, 2024 meeting of the Fairport Industrial Development Agency to order and ask if there is any public comment for the board.
I have public comment for you.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Sure.
I just want to commend the OSED, the board in general, for Julie Domratz, Mayor of the Village of Fairport, 71 East Avenue,
There you
the
go.
official. There you go. I just want to commend you all on coming to a shared meeting between the board and OSED last week, the village board and OSED last week, and how grateful I am that we had the opportunity to talk about the priorities of your organization, the priorities of our organization, and with Jill Wiedrick, our village planner, in the room, and Brian White in the room, our village manager. It was really, really meaningful to me. I hope it was as meaningful to you all.
Yeah, that's, thanks.
So
Thank you.
thank
'Cause,
you.
yeah,
Thank you for taking the time and
thanks
making
for
the
your
time.
board is doing it as well. And I think the consensus, as we talked afterwards, we felt the same way. So it's just a good event. So we'll have to get something on the books for do it again sometime.
Sometime over the summertime, if we can find a time when most people are in town, I think that would be really wonderful.
Yep.
I know I kind of said don't do it 4 times a year. I'd like to give us some time to go back and to work on what we're working on. And honestly, that middle of the winter, December, January timeframe is really kind of crazy for us as humans. And if we could do it 3 times a year, I think it would be fantastic.
We'll work with that. We like the opportunity. So, cool.
Yep. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other public comment? I don't close public comment period, and we'll move to the approval of the February meeting minutes. I was not in attendance for that meeting, nor was Rob, so that would tell me that we do not have a quorum to approve those minutes. So we will table those minutes and approve them at the next meeting. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the cash balances. We've all been presented with the cash balances and the financials.
I move to approve.
And they skipped one item, but go ahead. So you move to approve the financials and the cash balances?
Then the resolution.
We'll come back to that.
Oh,
I skipped it.
Okay.
Do we need a motion?
Oh,
we don't. We typically don't.
No, we don't.
All right, sorry.
So, yeah, we'll go right back to resolution 2024-03, authorizing payment of the IDA bills.
I'll move that one then.
Okay, thanks, Leslie.
I will second.
Is there any questions on those bills or any discussion from anyone?
Do we want to note that the chair looked at the bills in the absence of the treasurer?
That can be noted. I had no questions. They're all pretty standard expenses. Okay, so then we've looked at cash balances and financials. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding any of the financials?
You can see we've still got we're trying to manage the cash flow should we undertake any capital projects in the near future.
The next item is the Tompkins investment report.
Do we need a vote on the
On the
resolution?
Leslie and Rob. Oh, I'm sorry. We didn't.
All in favor?
Oh, good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Rob.
It's been a day for me, so I
No,
want to
you
make
are
sure.
off your
Well, that's
game.
good. I missed a meeting and,
Yeah, you're still on Belize time.
Oh, good.
You're supposed to be kicking me. I used to kick the mayor. So
You did. Help keep me straight.
I started a few times last month.
So that goes into financials.
Right.
Going to old business, North Main parking lot for a possible bid award.
Right.
Everyone received a copy of BME's bid tabulation. It is worth noting here that the low bids came in under the engineer's estimate, which is as it should be.
That's for phase 4. Right? For phase 4.
And it looks like alternate as well.
I have that
I
the,
have 256.
oh, I apologize. I was
246.
looking at the prior bids by the bidders.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, I mean, that is worth noting. So we did have good coverage with 5 bidders, which is very reasonable at this time of year, and the prices were competitive. There's always one outlier, which there was a high bid in this case. But in any event, so you had 4 very serious bidders who were kind of close on some things. So we can open discussion what we want to do with this. We have an opportunity to award just the base bid. We have the opportunity to award the base bid and the alternate, or we have the opportunity to not award any of them and say we're going to revisit this at another time once we have a little bit better information.
In 2017, we spent about $198,000 in that initial reorganization of the parking lot where we added lighting and sidewalks and added a significant amount of spaces. And then in 2020, we spent another $15,000 or so to grade the back area in anticipation of, anticipating some additional parking needs driven by development in the neighborhood. So all in, we're at least $215 into the parking lot. And also that does not include at the time the FMC contribution. I don't have the dollar figure from that for the lighting and so forth. So we're already, and then engineering estimates and all that, we've already put about $250,000 into the parking lot.
To where we are today.
Today.
Current.
Correct.
Yep.
Yep.
And you had a discussion with Pete Vars.
Correct.
He would have been here tonight if we would have wanted him to, but I thought that we would be able to answer most of the questions from what Martha's conversation was with him. One of the questions that I asked was if we were to do the base bid, can we add the alternate at a later time with minimal impact? Does doing phase 1 preclude just truly adding on the next phase? So,
and it does not. It would be. Peter pointed out, if assuming we rebid it, the alternate in appropriate time or nearby time, the only thing would be the contractor would remobilize, so there'd be additional costs to have them mobilize for that second. But
if they're willing to hold that price,
well, there's the other. Yes,
hold it for 45 days.
Right. The alternate starts at the sidewalk, so the sidewalks would not come in during it's actually phase 4 and then phase 5 is being the alternate. So the sidewalk comes in with the alternate. But you can see from the plans, they're anticipating where that will be, where that extra row of parking will be. The lighting would come in during the first part of it, the base bid. And we had an estimate from FMC of $55,000 for the lighting.
So that would be in addition to the low bidder's base bid price.
Correct.
If we would go that way.
Yeah.
Because that would still have to be, obviously, it's a safety issue and that would have to be done.
And the lighting would be on us to cover fully at this point.
Yes.
I would entertain the thought of not doing it yet. I don't know if anyone has thoughts on that.
I agree with that.
until we
I
can
feel
get
like,
funding.
yeah, I feel like that without having other people others contributing to this process and the cost, that where does it end? Will we be making parking all the way back to Thomas Creek? You know what I mean? To accommodate the parking problems on the north side, when it doesn't appear, and rumor mill says that they're going to be bringing in additional evening-oriented tenants in those areas, and I think that it could be an endless process of trying to keep up with the parking needs of the north side.
And what are we, the net
Right,
gain, we'll just be chasing something
Yeah.
forever.
Right.
Because as you recall, when this project was first put forward, 75 North Main was daytime use. There were two tenants, a high-end home builder and a boutique accounting firm with a restaurant in the front,
Right.
which was ideal. And that was a prior owner, someone who had a lot of experience in developing plazas and seeing how that they function correctly. So that it's changed since then, with additional space being added as we speak, with mezzanines and so forth that weren't anticipated. So
Just wonder if we've exhausted the avenues and of getting contribution from the developer, and I know that the village's contribution is dependent on developer contribution and whatnot, so I wonder if it makes sense to wait. I don't know.
From a leverage standpoint, it certainly seems to. If we make a commitment today, and we don't have partners in place, we likely won't.
Right.
Right. I mean,
Correct.
We definitely won't, right.
Separate thought. The low bid. Do we have any experience or any, and maybe this was part of the conversation at the last meeting, so forgive the question, but input on experience of work that they've done?
All right.
Yeah, they're solid.
yes,
I
recommended
know of
highly.
them from
Okay.
my business history,
Mhm.
and PME gives them a good recommendation as well.
Okay.
They're well known. They've been around for a while, and they're a good site contractor.
How long do they honor a bid like this?
45 days.
That is for both.
Well, that's in
both phases?
municipal. Municipal
Mm.
requires that, and I'm not sure. I haven't read the front ends of the PME specs, but typically, getting through public works is always 45 days. And that's kind of the standard.
Didn't we build in that this had to be done around before Canal Days because they used that a lot?
Yeah, they were gonna,
So we
we
were
were gonna
pushing
award,
to-
and they had to start April 1.
Correct.
Because the thought is, if that's a 45-day window that we have, and actually it's already begun counting, right? For everybody.
So
So, that's our leverage, or at least a leverage point that we can use to bring people to a table. To not delay this incredibly.
right. And just on that point alone, my thought is that at this time of year, with the workload that's out there, if we knew we weren't going to award it, or if it was questionable that we just might award it, I would not ask the bidder to hold his price for 45 days. So that may preclude him from going after other work or things like that.
All right.
Okay. That's standard.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I feel like if we are all in agreement that we don't move forward with it at this point, whether it's 45 days from now or 3 months from now, whatever it is, are there ways that we can add additional signage again, reminding people to cross at the light and improve the safety? Because I mean, we've all driven up on the north side, almost hitting people as they scoot across, because I'm guilty of doing myself.
I know.
In the daytime though, just messing around in the night. But crisscrossing parking lots.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ed, you can come on over here.
I don't know. Getting more.
Or is
signage,
there
getting-
things we could do at the back end of the parking lot? I personally, I walk, so I don't know, I'm not familiar with the parking at the far end. I'm wondering if there's things we could do to help sort and organize that, or just drop rocks or whatever to keep people from parking correctly or some, I don't know.
Well, I mean, one of the simple thing for like that, if we wanted to improve the efficiency of it, is you can actually put down pavement markings on stone.
Oh,
It's temporary,
sure.
but if I'm not mistaken, I think the cannery did some of that before they had all of their parking
Probably.
completed.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something that could be done if we wanted to consider doing that, just to improve the efficiency of what we have there now.
This
Wow.
may be weird.
But again, I'm with you. I don't know what it looks like up
Right.
there, during the peak times. So.
Right.
You gain 10 more cars, but we're also, you have 80 North Main Street that's, we don't know where that's going, or what's happening with that at this time. So that's another thing that's maybe that needs to be sorted out before we, jump into something like this as well.
Exactly. That's another factor we didn't think about 2 weeks ago. But the summer safety, more people are out.
So as far as what we can do to engage partnerships, is we'll have one more negotiation with them coming up on a somewhat related matter. That this may be something that is used at that point to try and work out some sort of an agreement.
Does it make sense because that parking lot area is not paved and lit and up to whatever safety standards we want to stand behind? Does it make sense to allow through traffic for folks who need to get back there for work, but utilize that space for something else that the village might need for storage or something, and block off public traffic to that back part?
There's an easement there to a certain point.
Right,
isn't
so
there?
folks that need to get through, but
That allows
aside,
Breed and FMC to get back.
would we be just in thinking of,
From a safety and security standpoint, I would say, yeah.
Right.
I would think that is. So kind of, what you guys are bringing up, we could, if we're going to say we're not going to go ahead with the project at this time, then we should look at what can we do to best, improve efficiency, to improve safety. And, well, those two things primarily.
right,
And and look hard at that, and maybe get some tips from BME
Yes.
on how to do it, as well as our our own in-house people with DPW and code enforcement. They have some opinions
Right.
on those, and we
Right.
could engage them as well.
need to use, and it might help motivate folks to contribute to making it a safe space if we make sure we wait to use it until it's safe.
So I think the three of you have given yours. I concur that I don't think we should go ahead with it at this time. I don't like doing that. We did it twice. It's not a good look for us to do that. But circumstances were what they were, that we needed to do it, and we thought it was going to be the best opportunity. But so I would concur that we don't award it. So,
I'll just add to around that feeling of like, we've done this twice.
Yeah.
I attended the Bill Forays presentation, which was awesome. And I'm happy to speak to it a little more in the proper meeting. But it was incredible to learn how close we got to not having that lift bridge in my lifetime. We'll talk more about it, but taking our time, not rushing and not forcing something,
Right.
is part of our job.
We want to see how the streetscape is progressing too.
Right.
And we talked about that even when we said we'll go ahead. And we said, well, if we need to, we'll make modifications. But this also gives us a little time to better integrate with what's going to be going on Main Street.
And also to bring in the comprehensive plan. That area was also identified as for infill development and green space. We have to recall that as we think through this project as well.
So then that plays into what's happening at 80 North Main. So if there's nothing else, I ask someone to make a motion that we not award bids.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Just whatever we need to do to take action with BME. Maybe
Well-
notate that in the minutes in regards to like talking about actually putting in
Oh,
action
yes.
the idea of
And,
safety
and
steps and
speaking with BME to improve the.
Yeah,
safety
and Martha
security, yeah.
has talked to Kim and said there's probably a pretty good possibility we weren't going to award this contract tonight. And as one of the Tom Banks told Martha, which is so do contractors have short memories as far as not,
Well, yeah.
geez, I did this twice, which by the way, I don't think it was the same bidders, but
No, we got
Right,
a
it
few,
wasn't,
we
right.
did quite a group.
so
Mhm.
they said they have short memory, work is work. So
Are there steps that we could take that can, working with the police, working with the building inspector, whomever it is to improve, get some more signage up there and direct
Yes.
people to the
I think
crosswalks?
that
Do we have to hire a crossing guard or a police officer to direct traffic up there? I mean, it's insane, but I
Well,
don't know how many times,
That would not,
I've nearly, you don't.
I'm in
you're
favor of
driving-
having somebody up there.
okay, we'll talk about that in
We'll
the
take it
site
up,
safety
like-
and security plan.
Mhm.
That's what we're going to develop.
Safety and
Alright,
security
Safety and
plans,
security plan.
excellent.
The SSP.
It's actually a thing.
Just outside, there was one night this week that, there was a lot, I don't remember what night it was, I was driving back down the street, and I was amazed that people had actually parked on Main Street.
I know,
yeah,
that
they
was
do.
so
I was like,
underutilized.
oh my
that People
gosh.
don't realize that that's all allowable parking.
Yeah, it's
all the way
allowable
down
parking on that side, there were cars on
On the
this
west side
side,
of the road, yeah.
and as I crossed over High Street, I was like, but you still got 2 or 3 over here that nobody knows it's parking, that I know
Mhm.
one of our plans, once we get to streetscape, is to paint out parking spots so people actually know
Better defined.
where, yeah, and
Invited.
that is,
Yeah, I've noticed the
helpful.
same thing. It went for the longest
Mhm.
time. Nobody ever parked there. And now they've caught on to that. There's
so
probably
I'm
10.
sorry to interrupt your meeting.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's probably 10 spaces.
I don't know why people don't just sneak into Max and park at Max at
They
night. It's
may.
empty,
Well, their
The street.
max is open.
but not late, not like the bars, but that they're parked on the street, but nobody's like,
Well, you're out
Sliding
that
into
late
that.
that you would know?
every now and then I get out late.
Anyway, we're digressing. So,
Over in front of Lombardi's, there are parking spots too.
yes.
Right, nobody knows that there are parking spots
Yeah.
except for the very few who use them.
Yeah.
And it would help slow down traffic on Main Street if somebody parked over there.
Right.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unfortunate, but it's the best interest.
Mhm.
Okay, any other old business for IDA, Martha?
I don't have any.
Moving on to new business. Pat Rapp is with us tonight. Thank you for providing information that came out this afternoon. It made my eyes blurry. I didn't know what I was looking at, but
Yeah.
so you can help us with that.
Okay, so I wasn't sure exactly what kind of statistics you would be looking for as far as tracking what's going on with social media. So I pulled together what I thought was were some of the key points, and so in going through them, I looked at the website hits and I like to have statistics like a snapshot of a full year. So I was looking at everything from March to March, just so that we could see where the trends are and what's going on. And although with the website,
Great.
the new
Oh,
site,
is it?
the new site did not come online until mid-August, so that's why those stats are a little bit different. And you, I don't know if you have them in front of you, but you can see that there was a bump when the website was first released. Everything, there was a big push to get people looking at it, and that worked really well. And then it kind of tapered off, and it's been pretty steady. What I found interesting is that most of the visitors are going to the Section 8 page, as opposed to any other. 35% of the hits are going to Section 8, which means that's a valuable resource for the community. Followed by the community support page, which is things like the links to the applications and loans and grants and things like that. And then the third one is the community page that highlights all the assets in the village.
Oh, great.
So I thought that was really useful information to know that websites being used,
Mhm.
I think in a good way. scrolling down and looking at our Facebook pages, we've got
Can we
just
go
a,
back to that chart? I'm sorry.
yeah.
Interesting, the amount of time, average time spent on the pages, on those channels, that the local development corp, people are staying on there almost 3 minutes. That's interesting.
Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah,
I mean, it's a
Longer.
small number of followers, but they are there,
they're actually reading,
yeah.
reading more.
They're not looking at pictures and moving on.
Exactly. And I think the reason why the timeline is so short on the top 3 pages is because people are going there and clicking on the applications.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
Going there specifically to
Makes sense.
download something. So on the Facebook pages, there's 2 Facebook pages, the OZ page and the Section 8 page, and they both have not an awful lot of followers right now, but you can see where things started trending midsummer for OSED and then in mid-fall for Section 8. And there was a big jump. And even though those lines look like they're flat, they are still slowly moving upward. They just don't have the big bump that they had when there was a lot of advertising going on. And it's interesting.
But we did 490 followers. It's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing, no.
From 0.
Exactly. it's a big bump.
And then another 326 on
the Section 8.
Mhm.
Exactly. And Instagram has 331 followers. So it's kind of consistent who's, probably a lot of the same people are following all 3 of these sites. And interestingly, LinkedIn, because it addresses the business crowd, we have a lot of eyeballs when we post there. We don't post very often, but when we do, we get a lot of people looking at it, which is a good indicator that we need to do that more.
Mhm.
That's great.
And same thing with Twitter, although Twitter's kind of fallen out of favor with a lot of people because of the political nightmare
You need to
that
move over to
is
Threads.
going on.
Mhm.
We have over 1,000 followers on Twitter.
Yes.
And I think there are still people who are going there. I know I look at it every day, but I'm not looking at the politics. I'm looking at the business stuff and the science and the things that are relevant to me. So we do still have a lot of people looking at it. And Twitter doesn't let me take a full year snapshot. So what I did was I compared this month to last March, and our engagement rate for this month was 15% compared to last year it was only 1.6. So there are still people that are using that.
Does it make sense to look into Threads?
We could.
I mean, just copy the
It's
same
just
thing
an
that you put
extension of
into
your
it.
Instagram account.
Right.
Your Threads account gets created off of Instagram. I left Twitter, earlier than July. I left at the beginning of probably like February or March of last year, and looked around, and the majority of the group that was on X or Twitter has really started to settle over to Thread. You'll start off slow, but I looked at, you can see when people joined and what number they were in joining. During the month of July, somebody else who I followed over there was in the 50 million follower rate, or, for how many people have joined. I'm at the middle to the end of July, and it was already 71 million people who had accounts over there. I think if you go look now, if you join over there, it's way over that because they've opened up to international. A couple months ago, they opened to international traffic. So like you started hearing from, I follow things in Ireland. So you started hearing from people in Ireland. You started hearing from other parts of Europe, and it wasn't open to that until a couple months ago.
Okay. So maybe it's worth I don't know if it's worth looking into.
I'll look into it. But yeah,
Okay.
it's not one that I'm familiar with.
It'd be much friendlier, much there. Like if you block somebody, it not only blocks them, but it blocks every new page they create over in the old world, I'll just call it the old world. You could create as many different various accounts coming from the same person, and the idea is to limit the amount of bot traffic because there's a lot of bot traffic over there. But I won't say it's without problems, but it's a much kinder, gentler world, and people are working really hard to make it. Nothing will ever be bot free or troll free, but it's a lot better than what's going on in the old world.
Okay, I will look into that.
Yeah.
And, if we've got users that are there, people in the community are using it, then it's
We
worth
should be
looking
there.
into.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, and then the last thing I had was the newsletter subscribers I started tracking these in January just to get an idea because I wanted to start promoting to get more people to sign on. And that we're seeing some steady increases in the number of people subscribing.
Right.
And all of the newsletters, we have very good open rates.
Right. I'm just looking at, well, we, out of our February 12th newsletter, 815 people received it, and we had 331 opens and 11 clicked through. It's building an audience and trying to,
And
send the right messages out.
I
But
think a lot of that is when it goes to your other folders, like your promotions folders, if you have Gmail, a lot of newsletters and things go into a separate category.
right.
And so if you don't know it's there, you don't know to go
Right.
click on it.
Our Thomas Creek wetland one, we had 48% of opens on them, which was pretty good. So I think we do a nice job on the newsletter.
I think people are enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
Pat, are there any data out there, whether it's like through NICOM or other groups we can measure ourselves against, benchmark ourselves from, whether it's other OSED groups that obviously we're a small one, we're not Comida, but how do our social accounts in terms of engagement, not necessarily reach, because I know we're very infancy here, but engagement, how do we compare to some of those?
We can do that, yeah.
And I don't know where that data exists.
Yeah,
but it's
how
not,
would you
find someone?
industry wise.
You can
So-
see the followers, I suppose.
I know on Facebook you can compare your pages to other similar pages.
Okay.
So what I can do is just look up some other local development agencies.
I can
and,
give you a list.
that would be great.
If you
yeah.
just put that on our to-do
Okay,
list.
I
I
will.
will. There's a few that have done a really good job and invested money in,
And there are
in growing.
there are social media experts and stuff that talk about the industry wide. I can spew the healthcare stuff at you, but I have no idea how much engagement on average or what's a good response rate and user rate.
I will look into that.
Knowing that we weren't really pointing folks aggressively, at least, towards a website previously. This seems, the OSED Facebook stat, the Section 8 stat, that seems like that should be a slow build to date.
Mhm.
I thought those were reasonably good numbers from where we're at. Infancy is a good word, right? When we think about how it's relatively new still, that we would be pointing someone to a fresh website.
Yes, for sure. And I think that as we keep tracking these numbers, the goal obviously is to see the numbers continue to grow. So I think over time we'll see what's working and what can be improved on.
Where do we invite folks to the newsletter right now? Is that something that obviously on some social media already that we are?
Yes,
There's this contact us page
there's
where
contact
people
us.
sign up for the newsletter.
And I started the last two newsletters. I started putting a link to the newsletter on social media and saying, if you want to subscribe, click here. And it goes to the website where people can sign up.
So
And
let's
we-
see if we're
we
doing
saw-
that on LinkedIn yet, because if not, I feel like
Yeah.
that's if
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah,
hot
I
spot
haven't done
for
that
us so far.
Right.
That could be something that when we add to the number of touches or
Mhm.
content pieces that we would put there.
That's a great idea.
I wonder if we can explore any like cross sharing, like with like front porch grants and things that impact folks. Like if village social or town social would share ours and we can share theirs. I think some of those things get numbers up. I don't know
Yeah,
They
sure.
a ton about this, but
Mhm.
I don't know if there would be willingness to do that on either side, probably,
It's
right?
happened in the past.
Oh, it's
and
already- okay.
It's happened in the past, and I think, Brian handles our social media from a village perspective,
Mhm.
and I think Brian does, considering it's not his main responsibility, I think he does a very good job on social
He
media,
does, yeah.
and he tries to go out and find if OSED has something, if the fire department has something, if the police department has something, he generally tries to share it, but it's certainly worth just a conversation between you and with Brian.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
Like, I'm getting ready to put these out. Would
Yeah.
you?
Especially when it's something like, like the front porch grants.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
And
I think they've done
there are
that
members of the
in
board who will
past.
also share it out. Emily is really good
She's
about
great
sharing it
about
out.
it. Probably helps
the
Brian. He's
partnership
probably
helps.
looking for content. So it probably helps if we
Yeah.
give him some stuff to
Yeah.
share.
Yeah, we can do
Awesome.
that. Yeah, and
I'm no help because I try not to do. I try not to go out on those forms of social media if at all possible.
yeah, it has to be limited. You have to give yourself a timeline and say, I'm going to focus on work and
Right.
not go
Mhm.
exploring too much.
Pat, I know in other meetings that we talked about potential outreach or ways to drive awareness about different initiatives and just generally about OSED in the
Mhm.
village. We've talked about the need to drive content. I know we've thrown around, potentially in the context of landlord outreach and getting folks to speak about their experience
Yes.
in a specific program and then be able to kind of share that as content. I was curious if you had thoughts, given this area of expertise for you, other ideas for content that would fit either our individual organizations or the broader OSED umbrella. Not to put you on the spot either, but with someone with expertise, I would welcome that input. And
I am always kind of thinking about that and looking for ways, looking at what's on the website and how can we drive people to that. One of the things that Martha and I have been talking about is with the front porch grants. With spring coming, we've had a couple of people. We did a post about somebody's front porch with grant money, and then somebody sent us a message saying, here's a picture of my porch, and I love it. I'm happy, and so we're going to do a show us your porch.
So we turn that into
That's
a
great.
post,
right.
and we're going to have a hashtag show us your porch.
love it.
Oh, that
So-
is so good.
So we've
Great.
highlight, we know who are, then we will be able to reach out to the people that have received grants and direct them to the social media to share their porch there. So,
Exactly.
and try to drive some additional traffic.
And we could do the same thing
Great
with the
example.
landlords who are
Mhm.
going to the roundtables and
Yes.
things like that
Yeah.
as well.
Mhm.
And I'm sure there's a benefit to them.
Yeah.
I wonder
And-
about like the senior grants, probably the, 70 and 80-year-olds that may not be on social, but
But their kids are,
And they're the ones who are starting to manage them,
yes.
keep an eye on how long can mom
Mhm.
stay home.
Mhm.
And if this,
Right.
and I don't know,
There-
I
There's
don't know how
no
you
lack
reach
of
kids,
content, it's just
How
time
do
and
you tell the
energy and
story
doing
and
it well.
have the right, images and things like that.
Mhm.
That's a great idea.
Anything else for Pat? Anyone?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Pat. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
You explained, but I couldn't read.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, and if there's additional information that you want on this, I'm not sure exactly what
She
you're
sent me
interested
a
in.
whole, there's data galore.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
It was too much information.
yes, she gave us too much info,
Yeah,
but I
so-
think the big numbers about the followers, and it's interesting to know how people are using the website.
Yes.
That's
That
helpful,
is.
very
You bet.
helpful.
Great. Well, thanks, Pat.
Thank you.
We appreciate
Thanks.
it.
Thanks.
Is there any other new business or IDA?
I don't have any other new.
Anyone? Board?
No, sir.
We'll take a motion to adjourn.
I will move to adjourn.
I would second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.